reach of this product. Okay. So we've been talking about using it as the technology, but the reach and the accessibility is absolutely critical. So if we look on the right, this is a chap called Stampy Cat, and if we look at how many YouTube followers he has, it's something around 7 million. Okay. Now that is an incredible reach, and the reason why I'm using Minecraft is because when we started off today, and we had the video about BIM adoption, I think I remember the stat with LAD adoption, Latin American adoption, something at the rate of 2%. Now, if we get this right, using these sort of technologies, we can really leapfrog that, okay? And that's what's very important. And it's great to see people like the UN Habitat actually putting these programs in and using Minecraft to start that development that can then be pushed into the other GeoBIM tools that you guys use in your daily lives. But it's getting that audience, it's getting that participation. So if we take a country, let's say Myanmar, for example, former Burma, just gone through recent elections, they're the first generation to just have smartphones. So they've not grown up with the little texting that we used to do. They're straight into smartphone land, okay? So everything's cloud, everything's accessible, it needs to be ubiquitous, it needs to be simple to use. And coming back to John's point of earlier from Trimble, it's the point about context. We have to make that context applicable. It's the race of the context. Just a further example here. This is an actual project in Africa where you've got the students designing a space up at the top and then actually turning it into a playground for their use. And I don't know whether you've got children that play Minecraft, probably have. It probably drives you crazy trying to get them off of it. But as I was preparing these slides, my little boy was playing Minecraft, and I said to him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm building a school." And then I thought, "Oh, that's very good." And then he said, "I can also build a hospital." And it's just that awareness that he's got at that age. And again, going back to the reach, because I think this is really important, and I got this idea from the Geodan guys at Smart City. It's so important. They've got over 10,000 educational establishments use this. Okay, and you're teaching maths, you're teaching engineering, so all the fundamental subjects. But it's the rate of adoption that is key. So if we can tap into that, we accelerate this BIM curve crazily. Okay, it gets out of those small dark planning rooms, and it gets us out there. This was a little world tour that I did in terms of BIM adoption. I'm from the UK. Obviously the BIM task force has been set up for a while now with Mark Bew heading that up, doing a cracking job. But that is really only part of it. You know, next year we've got to get into 2D BIM. That's our target, 2016. The cost savings, of course, and then we've got replication and adoption from various places around the world that we saw again in the earlier videos. Fantastic. But we've got to speed that up, and that's not the only drivers. Okay. So government and authority can do too, a number of things. Strategic advantage from a company point of view, a competitiveness point of view, is absolutely critical. So the businesses that we talk about, that's their number one priority, obviously. The commercial organisations a lot of the time in the main, and that strategic advantage is critical. And at the public sector level, again, it's that competitiveness within cities, okay? The smart city rankings, you've got to be up there. Project mandate, as we tighten up our project controls, let's make sure that we've got this in our mandates and our assessments, and that's what I'm going to come on to next, is the kind of the full life cycle of that project and embracing it. Again, the adoption stats seem really low to me at the end of the life cycle, and that's where I think there's a massive opportunity too. So again, I really want to take the time, take a few minutes to look at the life cycle, right through to the maintain. And I don't know whether you saw the Trimble curve really dropped off at the maintain level. You know, the circular economy, I think it was down to about 14%. We were just talking about that a minute ago, but about 14%, that's terrible. We've got so much to do that, and some of these buildings and spaces are there for a long while, so we've really got to use them, conserve the space. I know where we come from in Oracle, our facilities guys are always looking at space maximisation. Okay, they're looking at buildings that don't have transport connections yet, but they're planning for the future. Okay, so this is all very critical, and we'll go through a few of the things that we're doing in the industry. people generally come to us with some business problems that we solve a lot of the time with you, our partner base as well. But it's all around mobility now, accessibility. It's having the integrated apps. So again, coming back to the previous presentation, it's not building interfaces all the time, it's not moving data, it's consuming that data in an intelligent manner. And we've got to save money. I mean, some of the local authorities that I deal with in the UK have crazy budget restrictions. Okay, some of the departments have been cut by up to 50%. Some of the structures have been flattened. We've got to do more with less, and we've got to push more of that responsibility onto the public and get them generating effort for us, and because they've got to have their say too. High frequency collaboration, absolutely. I think we'd all agree that we've got to collaborate. This isn't a one-stop shop. Best practices and increasing operational efficiency, something that we talk about a lot at Oracle Primavera. Okay. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. These are the main challenges and objectives that we have in here. And at the top one, it's that coagulation, if you will, of making sure that all these considerations are in the planning. So it's multi-effort, multidisciplinary thinking. That integrated interdisciplinary approach. And I've got a flag up there. I'm doing some work with Reading at the moment, Reading 2050. It's a group that's come together of about 40 consortia at the moment, or 40 active members, and that's from academia, it's from business and commerce, and it's from the local authorities and the boroughs. And what we're finding is that it needs all of those participants in there. So the citizen engagement, the citizens that work with us there as well. But you have to have that multidisciplinary approach. I was going to give you a little example of one thing that we've done in South Africa here. We're doing some work with the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission. And this is essentially the strategic plan or strategic underpinning for South Africa for the next 20 years. And what they did is they did a spatial analysis of the country, which then drove their 18 strategic integrated projects. Okay, so this cuts right across everything. It goes through energy. Most of that is delivered by Eskom, who power about 80% of Africa's energy. The spatial sits in there in terms of those integrated transport hubs, for example. There's education in terms of accessibility to schools, water and sanitisation, and also goes into knowledge, things like the telecoms question that we have, making sure that we've got that connectivity to become a superhighway. So they did the spatial analysis before they started getting into the planning. What we then did was take that down a level and start looking at geographic distributions, and how that's going to affect right down into the project level, individual project level, and then resonate back up to the national vision, if you will. Simple things like creation of refuse. We've got to be thinking about this, okay? And it's not just the plan of building is one building. We've got to integrate this with all the other functions, and this is what we're really working hard on at the moment. And then we take that down to the BIM level. I think everybody's heard this today. We focus on the information. But personally, the users don't want to focus on the information. They just want it accessible in an easy way. I'm not a technical guy. I don't really care where the information is, but I need to be able to do things on my smartphone quickly and easily, wherever it's stored. I don't need to be told how many data and how many sources it's being pulled from and how many APIs and how many web services calls it's using. Don't need to know that. I need to be able to do my job and get that context to me very quickly. From a construction point of view, I just found this very, very interesting. So it takes 5 industries, and with construction, you'll see that there's a lot of blue on that slide. And these are industry outreach or communications that they have. And the red is internal. So imagine your company, talking with colleagues in your company, and the rest is internal to external collaboration. Construction, you'll see many more blue. Okay, so that just tells you how the importance of collaboration here. And that collaboration generates information. And these are just some stats in terms of how the rate of information is growing at an alarming rate. Okay. 3.5 billion network devices at the moment. I believe from the reports that I've read, that's going to go up to about 9 billion by 2020. Okay. The good thing about asset devices with Internet of Things is that they're not as hard to manage as citizens sometimes. So it's kind of wearable tech for assets. But a lot of that will come through. So it's unbelievable the rate that's increasing. So Oracle, from a BIM perspective, what do we do? The master data management is key to us, but the majority of the time we are working with people like yourselves to partner with. Most people that I've spoken to today have said, oh, Oracle, you guys do database. Yeah, we do. And that's still probably where we're at, but we are probably the largest enterprise software company in the world too. I'll go on in a second to show you, because we've done a lot of this. A couple of the organisations that we're working with at the moment, certainly on the estimating side, and this is making sure all that information is being tied up right through the project life cycle. Okay. Some of the folks, again, more of them that we work with, we interface with, we partner with. This is some of many that we do, because it is a collaborative job. The piece in the middle for us is our big focus area at the moment around making everything social, okay, making it mobile, okay, cloud ready, making sure that we've got those analytics. And I think the final goal in terms of where this is all going is it's bringing that context to individual streams within the project, from the design, okay, right through to that circular economy. How can we better use those environments that we have created? Do we need to rip down the buildings? Can we reuse them? Can we make better use of that space on the facilities management side? If we're wasting 50% of the energy going into it, that's not a smart way to work. How can we better use those places as we go forward? Because at the front end, we have been enabled at estimation, and then right through to digital project handover and close. Okay. So for example, a facility that's just been built where I live was a very significant project for the community. There was a flood area. If only we'd have had this data right from the start to the end, because now when I go try and book a room in a municipal building that's been created, I can't do it very easily. If we'd have had that layout and spatial data there right through the project, it would have helped massively. So it's just that handover. It's very, very simple, but I think it's forgotten about a lot. So, and again, it's a stat from McKinsey that we use here in terms of wasted capital. Okay, we can't afford to be wasting that amount of capital in our projects. It's fairly significant, okay? Especially if you look at the UK infrastructure spend in that bill against the top projects, I think we're talking about 466 billion. That's pounds, so $700 billion-ish. It's a sensible size, okay? And if we can create efficiencies here, we all win, because we can do more. Okay. Some of you will be familiar with the UK targets of 20% efficiency. Now, if we applied that perhaps on a global level, and again, this is using a PwC number for infrastructure spend. Okay, 78 trillion. Save you counting the zeros. That's pretty hard work, especially before lunch. If we just make, 0.5 of a saving, an efficiency saving on this, that's the top number is what we're looking at globally. That's huge, okay? What could we do? What could we do with 390 billion? It's a fair amount of money. It's very, very significant. If we get to the 10%, it's fantastic. And I think all of us here are the enablers to drive it. So my point's fairly simply, I think agility, how can we work together and persist that knowledge that we have? Think life cycle and that circular economy, and let's get those adoption rates up. And think collaboration, okay? Because these sort of projects aren't going to be delivered by one, they're going to be a consortium of many, and they need inputs from all of us. So from an Oracle perspective, we have 25,000 partners globally. We have about 13,000 of them residing in EMEA. We always want more. We want more in context in terms of BIM. So please come and speak to us. Thanks very much.